Our first official look at Wayne T. Carr as John Stewart Green Lantern, thanks to Zack Snyder showing more epic photos on his phone unexpectedly, nonchalantly. Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you're new, thanks for checking us out. If you've missed any recent videos, head over to the channel to check those out, and there's also links in the description if you're interested. But yeah, during a Q&A viewing of Zack's latest movie, Army of the Dead, which opened in theaters today officially, someone had asked about seeing Wayne T. Carr as John Stewart Green Lantern. Since we got those, behind the scenes photos not too long ago, of course, the next thing we want to know is, like, what would he actually look like in the suit, since it was a CGI suit. And when they asked, Zack, of course, pulled out his phone like he tends to casually do on streams and interviews sometimes, and he showed a picture of how Wayne T. Carr would have looked here in the suit. You can see his ring. It's, obviously glowing in the middle of his chest there. I mean, of course, this is not like a high definition, 4K, like, amazing quality. I'm sure it looked better in person, like to the person and the audience that he was showing it to. It doesn't always look good when you take pictures of a picture on a screen or on a phone, especially when you have to zoom in, because he was like at the bottom of the theater auditorium and he was showing it to an audience, and I'll show you the video in just a second. But we still get a look at him. We still see how he, we still get a good idea of how he looks. It looks very similar to the concept art that we also saw recently when the behind the scenes photos came out around the same time that those photos came out. Looks awesome. It looks awesome. So I'm very happy for Wayne T. Carr that he got to at least see this, since he hadn't seen the footage. I don't know if he has, like, by now, but I'm guessing maybe he hasn't. I don't think he said anything about it. And he seemed very excited to get this look at himself, as John Stewart. And then sometime after the picture started circling around and being passed around social media very quickly, obviously, there's also a video that came out of when a fan approached and asked the question, and here's Zack showing it to the audience.
A big box, and it's very important to have it on here. This guy in the shelter has a question.
About the Justice League, we know you should say John Stewart, because you don't have to, right? Is it possible, you could kind of, release a little clip, possible?
Oh, do I have a clip? I don't have a clip, but I have a picture. I can show you.
Classic Zack. I got a picture I can show you.
You all have your X-ray vision, your It's not hard to read. Yeah. All right, if I show you something you shouldn't see. There are Easter eggs in this food. We won't get out of here.
There are Easter eggs in this
There's plenty of Easter eggs. There are. That's a good one. All right, one more quick question.
So there's the video of Zack showing the audience the picture of Wayne T. Carr as Green Lantern. Obviously, that would have been an awesome moment. Just to be there would be awesome, right? But especially to get these pictures. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get the clip. We'll see. I don't think he's allowed legally to just, like, put that out there, because, yeah, it's his movie, but he doesn't own the rights to the material. That's the studio owns the rights to the material and the IP. So legally, I don't think he can just, like, put it out there. But I don't know. You never know what might happen. I hope, like I've said before, I hope at least Wayne T. Carr gets to see the footage that they shot together. I'm glad we at least have this. So, pretty cool. And I'm sure Warner Brothers is upset once again, because every time Zack shares something or we see something from him about Justice League, it's just like, it breaks the internet, right? Fans go crazy. People, it's getting, shared nonstop, it's trending or whatever it may be. It gets a lot of attention anytime he shares something. So I'm sure they're not happy when those kind of thing happens. Some other good news: Zack Snyder's Justice League makes its super third week at number 1 on the UK official film chart. It's still, doing amazing in China and I think India as well now too. So it's staying up there. And there's also this cool video from Vanity Fair here that Zack is kind of breaking down his career. I'm not going to play it because it's like 16 minutes, but if you haven't watched it, I highly suggest that you watch it. Zack is kind of just like going through the history of his career, his different movies, and it's very interesting the way that he talks about his history with Warner Brothers, because it seems like every movie he's done with them, there's been, this for every movie. And so it's interesting because it's not like it wasn't just Justice League that had problems, or just the DCEU, just the DC movies. It's like their whole history together has this butting heads clashing, like, I don't get it, why are you doing this? They don't understand, they don't want to support what he's doing. It just seems like they have a whole history of that. So I highly recommend you watch that video from Vanity Fair. And an interesting point that Zack talks about in that video is that when he goes down the line of his history of films and then he gets to Justice League, when he talks about, that they finished the film without him. And then when it started getting around the time when it was becoming a possibility that they were going to release the Snyder Cut, he said that they went over to his house and that no one had ever seen that version of the movie from the studio. So that's very interesting. I remember him saying before that, like, this was the version he was never going to show the studio. So I remember him saying that, but I didn't realize that no one had seen like the Snyder Cut at all. So that's pretty crazy because they were so determined to change what he was doing, having not even seen the true Snyder Cut. They had the 214, they knew what that had. The 214 version was obviously the compromised version of the Snyder Cut, that he was willing to, the compromises he was willing to make to please the studio. But even that version they didn't use. They used some things from it, obviously, and there's obviously, a lot of stuff from the 214 in the Snyder Cut because that's how it's 4 hours long. But there was compromises in the 214, obviously, that he made for the studio, and then there's stuff on the side that he filmed for himself. And that's why the studio had never seen the Snyder Cut. They didn't know everything that he had for this that made up the Snyder Cut. So it's just really interesting that they were, even with the 214, with all the compromises he was willing to make for them, they still were so determined to just overhaul the movie. It's crazy. And then to hear, him and Deborah talk about their experience with, working with Netflix on Army of the Dead is totally different. There's an interesting article here, an interview with Deborah Snyder. I highly recommend you read this interview too, where in the article, Deborah says, and I had a feeling that this was true, but I wasn't 100% sure. I had a feeling that Zack and Deborah also were not aware of like the numbers straight from HBO Max or Warner Brothers as far as its performance on HBO Max. But I wasn't sure. I just had a feeling that they probably didn't know. And sure enough, at the beginning of the article, Deborah says, I got absolutely no information from HBO Max or Warner Brothers, none. I'm getting a lot more indication from Netflix about Army of the Dead, a lot more sharing of information in terms of indicators that are looking good. So if you go back up here, yeah, it says, then there was the data. So she's referring to Zack Snyder's Justice League, obviously on HBO Max, that they've received no data from Warner Brothers or HBO Max about its performance on the streaming service. So again, it's a good article, a good interview that I recommend you read if you're interested. I appreciate Netflix showing their support for Zack and Deborah, especially here when they're talking about making an original IP, something that doesn't already exist. She says, if you're thinking about creating exciting new IP and you wait until the first movie comes out and is successful, you're waiting years before you can say, okay, go ahead. Stop moving. Let's pull the trigger on a prequel. Let's pull the trigger on an animated series. Everybody's waiting on the sure bet, and sometimes you have to take that chance, and they were willing to do that. The studios don't want to make that investment until they know it's a sure thing. What's been exciting is for Netflix to say, yes, we want you to create a franchise. We believe in this, and we like what we're seeing. I felt like it was a real partnership. So that's not the experience that they've had with DC with Warner Brothers. So it's very opposite relationship that they've had. And she says that she really hopes to do a lot more with Netflix, which I hope they do too, because it seems like they have this great relationship. They have a lot of support. It even says that when we decided to make it, they had the opportunity to do so with us, but Warner's couldn't offer the same budget that we could get to make it at Netflix. So yeah, if you go back up here, for years we couldn't figure it out with them, because Warner Brothers owned Army of the Dead all these years. Zack wrote the story right after he did Dawn of the Dead, which was a long time ago. And so they had the chance to make this movie for years, but they never did. And it's interesting that, a streaming service, yes, it's the largest streaming service in the world, Netflix, that they were willing to give them more money than one of the, top studios for this movie. And also, not just for one movie, but they also greenlit a prequel and an animated series at the same time before the first one even came out. So very different experiences being described here between these two studios. And I really hope that they continue. It seems like they're much happier working with Netflix, and yeah, very happy for them. And like I said, in all of these press things that Zack has been doing for Army of the Dead, he continues to say that Warner Brothers has no interest. They've told him directly they don't have any interest in his point of view for the DCEU. He said that it's glorious IP. He loves that world. He loves the characters. It's a great world to make a movie in, but it has to be the right circumstances. So he's not shutting it down. He's not saying he's not saying to not support the Restore the Snyderverse movement. He's just saying he doesn't know what's going to happen in the future with it because of the attitude that Warner Brothers has towards his take on it. But I'll stop rambling now, and just wanted to go over some of those things with you guys that have been, coming out recently and being talked about. Watch that video of Zack talking about his career. Read this article with Deborah, and I recommend those two things. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you like my content, and we'll see you guys next time.